My name is Penny Leathers, and I was 34 weeks pregnant when I finally learned what real family meant to my mother, and that it didn't include me. That morning, sunlight poured through the kitchen window, glinting off a tray of pink and gold balloons and the soft shimmer of gift wrap. My husband, David, was in the kitchen humming to himself, carefully arranging a tray of mini quiches and deviled eggs. He'd even ironed his shirt that morning, something he only did for weddings and big milestones. It was the day of my baby shower, and I could feel our little girl kicking as if she knew it too. Everything around me felt like joy. The smell of cinnamon pastries, laughter echoing down the hall, and the faint rhythm of music as friends arrived early to help decorate. But beneath it all, there was a quiet ache in me, the kind you don't talk about, because hope makes you look foolish when you should already know better. I kept checking my phone every few minutes, pretending I was looking for a vendor confirmation or a last-minute RSVP. In truth, I was waiting for my mother. Just a simple message. "We're on our way, sweetheart. We're proud of you. Can't wait to see the baby things." Instead, at 10:42 a.m., my phone buzzed with a single text. "We won't make it. Your sister booked a surprise trip to Napa. You know how she gets when she wants something. She's real family. Don't guilt me." I stared at the screen, then again, and again. That last part, "she's real family." It was like a blade disguised as a sentence. Sharp, cold, deliberate. For years, I'd been the one holding everything together, sending money when their bills were late, covering Clara's car repairs, pretending that loyalty could earn affection. But at that moment, surrounded by baby clothes and half-inflated balloons, I realized, to my mother, I'd never been a daughter. I'd been a resource. David looked up from the kitchen and smiled. "You okay, Pen?" I forced a nod. "Yeah, just tired." I put my phone face down and went back to folding onesies. It wasn't a lie. I was tired. Just not in the way he thought. The shower began an hour later. It was perfect, joyful, warm, and full of laughter. My best friend made a toast that made everyone cry. David's mom, Margaret, brought an extra cake shaped like a baby bassinet. His dad recorded every smile and every gift. Everyone on his side of the family was there, present, loving, generous. Everyone except mine. When people asked where my parents were, I smiled politely and said, "Oh, they couldn't make it." The kind of line that hides a lifetime of hurt behind one polite sentence. Then, right in the middle of the laughter, my phone buzzed again. Fraud alert. Unusual activity detected. My stomach dropped. I quietly slipped away to the guest bathroom, shut the door, and opened my banking app. 3 attempted transactions, 3 different cards, $2,400 in total. The name beside each attempt made my heart stop. Carolyn Leathers. My mother. She had tried to pull money from my account during my baby shower. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe an old auto payment, maybe confusion, but then I saw the timestamps, all within an hour, and one of the cards she used was linked to our joint account, the one David and I used for baby expenses. The realization hit me in waves. She didn't just skip my shower. She'd tried to rob me during it. Something inside me went very still. No tears, no screaming, just clarity. I scrolled through every account, every login, every card I'd ever shared. One by one, I changed passwords, revoked permissions, closed links. It felt like cutting invisible threads that had been strangling me for years. When I was done, I looked at my reflection in the mirror, my face pale, calm, and strangely composed. I whispered, "You chose wine over family. I'll choose peace over guilt." By the time the last guest left and the house was quiet again, my phone was glowing with notifications. 16 missed calls, 23 texts, and 3 voicemails. Why are the cards not working? I just needed to move some money. Don't be dramatic, Penny. I'm still your mother. You owe me after everything I've done for you. I deleted every message, not out of anger, out of exhaustion. When I walked into the bedroom, David was sitting on the edge of the bed. He didn't even ask what happened. He just said softly, "You okay?" I nodded once. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm done." He studied me for a moment, then said, "Then let's shut them down completely." So we did. That night, while I folded tiny onesies in the nursery, David sat beside me with his laptop. We went through every shared account, every emergency card, every forgotten link, and erased them all. When he closed the laptop, he reached over and rested a hand on my stomach. "She's not going to grow up thinking this is normal," he said. "Not your mom, not your sister. She deserves better." I looked at him, my throat tight. So do I whispered. An hour later, one final voicemail came in. I didn't open it. I just stared at the screen and whispered, "You said there'd be consequences, Mom. You were right." By the next morning, my phone looked like a battlefield. 37 missed calls, 9 voicemails, 28 unread texts. Most were from my mother, but a few were from Clara, my sister, the self-declared golden child. Her messages started soft. "Mom's just stressed, Penny. You're overreacting." Then sharpened. "It's just money. You act like we stole from a stranger." And finally, the one that really landed. "You're not the victim here. Grow up." I stared at those words and felt a strange calm wash over me. Clara didn't even pretend to be surprised about what Mom did, because she knew. She always knew. For years, I'd been the quiet benefactor of the Leathers family, the invisible wallet behind their comfortable life, mortgage payments handled by my mysterious deposits, medical bills that disappeared, groceries that magically refilled when their account hit zero. Mom always called it helping the family. I called it keeping the peace. Until now. That morning, I made the decision official. I called my accountant, Mark, and told him to stop the automatic transfers I'd been sending to my parents' mortgage. "Freeze everything connected to them," I said, "permanently." He hesitated. "Are you sure? I'm sure." It felt strange, freeing and terrifying at the same time, like cutting the rope of a hot air balloon that had been anchored for too long. By noon, the ripple effect had begun. Mom was standing at a CVS when her health insurance card declined. Dad's blood pressure medication? Denied. Her thyroid pills? Not covered. A voicemail came half an hour later. "Penny, what did you do? We're at the pharmacy. This is childish. You're putting your father's health at risk." I didn't answer. Next came the gas bill, then the internet, then the Amazon Prime account she used like it was her personal shopping fund. Every time something failed, a new voicemail arrived, her tone shifting from anger to desperation to guilt-laced manipulation. "You're really going to do this to your parents? After everything we sacrificed for you? We're family, Penny. Family helps each other." Family. That word again. It used to mean obligation. Now it meant theft wrapped in entitlement. By evening, David came home to find me sitting in the nursery, surrounded by unopened gifts and silence. He crouched beside me. "You okay?" I nodded slowly. "I don't think they ever loved me, David. They just managed me." He didn't argue. He just wrapped his arms around me, resting his chin on my shoulder. "Then we stopped letting them manage us," he said. "All of them." He opened his laptop right there on the floor and started going through every shared link. Old joint phone plans? Canceled. Savings account from years ago? Closed. Her emergency access to our health plan? Gone. He even found an old car insurance policy where my mother was still listed as a secondary user. Removed. Each click was quiet, deliberate, final. When he finished, he said, "She's not just losing access, Penny. She's losing control. That's what she can't stand." He was right. By the next morning, the voicemails sounded different, almost rehearsed. "Penny, please, you don't understand what this is doing to us. Your father's been so depressed. We just need a little time." And then one final message that chilled me more than any of the others. "You think you're better than us now? Don't forget who raised you. You'll regret this." I didn't delete that one. I kept it, not as evidence, but as a reminder. Days passed. The silence from their end grew heavier, angrier, until one afternoon, while I was organizing baby clothes by size, my phone buzzed again. A message from my Aunt June. "Sweetheart, what's going on? I just saw your mom's post." Attached was a screenshot. A long, emotional paragraph written by my mother on a local community page. The kind where people sell furniture or ask for babysitters. The title, "In Need of Support." She'd written that my father had lost his job, that they were facing financial ruin, that someone had suddenly removed access to our family accounts. She didn't say my name, but it was obvious. "Our estranged eldest daughter has unfortunately cut off communication during a difficult time," she wrote. "We're emotionally and financially broken. Any help is appreciated. Venmo. Support our family." I felt my throat tighten. She turned me into a villain, a heartless daughter punishing her poor parents. Nothing about the theft. Nothing about the baby shower. Nothing about the years of quiet financial lifelines I'd provided. I stared at that post for a long time, the room blurring around me. When David came home, I handed him the phone without a word. He read it, jaw tightening. "She's playing the sympathy card," he said. "Publicly," I whispered. That night, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that post, the comments underneath, the pitying emojis, the lies being shared like gospel. But the part that hurt most wasn't the betrayal, it was the familiarity. My whole life, my mother had rewritten stories, painting herself as the victim and me as the difficult one. Only now, the audience was larger. When I told Margaret the next day, she didn't say anything at first. She just looked at me, her eyes narrowing. Then she said quietly, "She's not just selfish, Penny. She's dangerous." And in that moment, I realized this wasn't about money anymore. It was about control, and my mother wasn't done fighting for it. The morning it happened, I was washing bottles in the sink, half distracted by the sound of birds outside the nursery window. For a brief second, life felt normal. Then my phone buzzed again. Another message from my Aunt June. "Honey, I think your mom made a GoFundMe. Is this about you?" My heart dropped. I clicked the link. There it was. Help a struggling family recover, with a photo of my parents looking tragically posed on their couch. My mother had her hand on her chest, my father looking tired and noble beside her. The caption made my stomach turn. "After losing our income and the support of our eldest daughter, we are facing eviction. We've done everything we can, but we've been abandoned in our time of need. Any help, even $1, would mean the world." Beneath that, pictures of Clara wiping fake tears, and their Venmo handle plastered for sympathy. Within 12 hours, they'd raised $180. 2 donations were from Dad's old coworkers, people who still believed the myth of the perfect Leathers family. I didn't know whether to scream, laugh, or cry. When I showed David, his hands went still. "She's weaponizing pity," he said flatly. "Classic Carolyn." "Should I say something?" I asked. He looked up. "Not yet." That afternoon, his mother, Margaret, called. Her tone was calm, but there was an edge beneath it. "I've seen enough," she said. "We're having a family dinner tomorrow. Everyone's invited." "Everyone?" I asked, confused. "Yes," she said. "Your parents too. Let's see what happens when lies have nowhere to hide." The next evening felt like walking into a storm pretending to be a dinner party. Margaret had set the table like she always did. Candles, china, a meal that looked too perfect for what was about to happen. David sat beside me, silent but alert. Then they arrived. My parents walked in like they were coming to a reunion, smiling, polite, my mom in her favorite silk scarf, my dad carrying a cheap bottle of wine as if that excused everything. "Penny," she chirped, kissing the air near my cheek. "You look radiant." I didn't respond. I couldn't. The tension was thick, invisible, humming like static electricity under the small talk. Clara sat across from me, eyes darting between her plate and her phone. Dinner began, quiet, polite, mechanical. Then, halfway through, Margaret stood up, raised her glass, and said with that deliberate calm of someone who's about to end the performance, "I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. It's important that we clear the air, since there's been a lot of confusion lately." Silence fell. My mother froze, smile still plastered on her face. Margaret turned to her directly. "Carolyn," she said, "why did you try to withdraw $2,400 from Penny's account on the day of her baby shower?" You could have heard a pin drop. My mother blinked, once, twice, then forced a light laugh. "Oh, that was a misunderstanding. We've moved past that." David stood up slowly. His voice was quiet, steady, but sharp as glass. "No, we haven't. We moved past you." My father's fork clattered onto his plate. Clara sank lower in her chair. Mom's smile faltered. "I don't know what she's told you, but—" Margaret cut her off. "We know exactly what she told us. We also know about the GoFundMe." The air in the room turned electric. Mom's composure cracked for the first time. "That was to help with expenses. You have no idea what we're dealing with." "Maybe because you've been busy inventing stories," Margaret said sharply. Clara muttered, "This is ridiculous," under her breath. I could feel my heart pounding, but I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Everything I'd ever tried to explain was being said for me. Then David said it, the sentence that sealed everything. "You lied, you stole, and when that stopped working, you begged strangers for sympathy. You're not victims, Carolyn. You're manipulators." The room went dead quiet. My father tried to speak. "David, let's calm down." But even his voice cracked. Mom stood abruptly, clutching her purse. "This is absurd. We came here to make peace, not to be ambushed." Margaret didn't even flinch. "You came here to rewrite history. Not this time." They left 10 minutes later, slamming the front door behind them. For a long time, none of us spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of the refrigerator and Clara's abandoned phone buzzing against the table. Finally, Margaret sighed and sat down again. "Well," she said, "that's done." But it wasn't, not yet. Because when people like my mother lose control, they don't reflect. They retaliate. And that night, as I lay awake beside David, listening to the rain tapping against the window, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was already planning her next move. 2 weeks later, on a gray Tuesday morning, my water broke. It wasn't dramatic. No movie scene chaos. No panicked rush. Just a quiet moment in our kitchen, the smell of toast still in the air. David dropped the knife he was holding and froze. "Is it time?" he asked. I nodded, laughing through the tears. "Yeah, it's time." 6 hours later, under soft hospital lights and the steady rhythm of the fetal monitor, our daughter came into the world, tiny, perfect, and loud. When they placed her on my chest, all I could do was whisper, "You're here." For the first time in months, peace didn't feel like silence. It felt like her heartbeat against mine. David cut the cord, and I remember thinking, maybe this is what real family feels like. Not guilt, not duty, just love. His parents arrived that evening, gentle, emotional, overflowing with warmth. His mom, Margaret, cried the moment she saw the baby. His dad brought a small silver locket engraved with her initials. It was quiet, intimate, honest. My parents didn't call, not a single text, not even from Clara. 3 days later, we came home. I was exhausted, floating between joy and disbelief. Then, while I was nursing the baby, my phone lit up with a notification from Instagram. Clara Leathers posted a new photo. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. She was sitting at a restaurant, holding a champagne glass, with the caption, "Some people pop bottles, some pop out babies. Guess who's doing better?" David saw my face fall and asked quietly, "What is it?" I handed him my phone without a word. He stared for a moment, then put it down. "She's desperate for attention," he said. "Don't give it to her." But the next knock at our door made that impossible. It was late afternoon. I thought it might be a neighbor dropping off flowers until I looked through the peephole, my parents. David's shoulders tensed immediately. He opened the door just a few inches. Mom smiled like nothing had happened. "We just want to see her," she said softly. "You can't keep her from us." David stepped outside, closing the door behind him. "You can't be here," he said evenly. "She's our granddaughter," Mom insisted. "You don't have the right." He cut her off, voice calm but unyielding. "You lost that right when you tried to steal from my wife." Behind him, I could hear my dad muttering something. "Let's just talk, son. Come on." But David didn't move. I stood at the hallway corner, watching through the curtain crack. My heart was pounding, but not from fear. From the strange mix of heartbreak and disbelief. Then Mom raised her voice. "Penny, come out here. Don't hide behind him." Her tone, the one that used to make me small, rang through the air. But it didn't hit the same anymore. David turned to me, his voice low. "Do you want to handle this, or should I?" I shook my head. "No." He nodded once and closed the door, firmly. Through the wood, I could hear her yelling something muffled, then footsteps, retreating. An hour later, Clara posted another photo, a zoomed-in picture of our house from the street. "Guess who won't let her parents meet their granddaughter?" The comments flooded in fast. Sympathy, outrage, gossip. But then, something unexpected happened. People started pushing back. "Wait, aren't these the parents who skipped her baby shower for a vacation? Didn't they start that fake GoFundMe? Maybe she has a reason." One by one, strangers began to defend me, complete outsiders who saw through the manipulation. That night, Margaret called again. "Don't worry about the noise," she said. "People see the truth, even when it takes a while." She invited us for a small family gathering that weekend, just her side, to celebrate the baby's arrival properly. Saturday came. The air smelled like rain and roasted chicken. There were candles, laughter, and baby giggles. It was the kind of warmth I'd always chased from my own family but never received. Halfway through dinner, David went quiet. I followed his gaze toward the window. My parents, standing in the driveway, Mom clutching a small gift bag. Dad beside her, trying to look harmless. David's jaw tightened. He stood and walked to the front door. Margaret followed. "Please," Mom said when the door opened. "We just want to be part of her life." Margaret stepped forward before David could speak. Her voice was calm but cold enough to freeze air. "You had every chance, Carolyn. You chose wine and money instead." My mother opened her mouth but no sound came out. She just looked at me, standing behind them with my baby in my arms, and for the first time I saw it, the realization flickering in her eyes. Not guilt, not love, just the dawning horror that her power over me was gone. They left without another word. That night, as I rocked my daughter to sleep, I looked around our quiet home, the one I had built with my own boundaries and blood, and whispered, I thought peace would feel louder, but it's just quiet. And for the first time, I was okay with that. A month later, the envelope arrived. Plain white. No return address. My mother's handwriting. That careful, looping script I'd known since childhood. It sat on the kitchen counter for 3 days before I opened it. Every time I walked past, my chest tightened. I told myself I didn't care, that I wouldn't let her pull me back into the same cycle. But curiosity has a cruel voice, the kind that whispers, what if she's finally sorry? When I finally slid it open, I realized I should have left it sealed. It wasn't an apology. It was nostalgia wearing guilt like perfume. Penny, I don't know what happened between us. Things have been tense, but families fight. I miss you. I miss the sound of your laugh when you were little. I remember you bringing me flowers from the yard. Do you remember that? She wrote about memories that used to make me ache, about birthday cakes and Christmas mornings, trying to remind me of a childhood she'd already rewritten in her mind. At the bottom, taped carefully, was an old photo of me, 5 years old, missing my front tooth, grinning up at her. There were no words about the baby shower, no mention of the theft, no ownership. Just a final line. You'll understand one day when your daughter grows up. My hands shook, not from sadness, from anger, because that was her message, wasn't it? Not, I'm sorry, but you'll become me. David found me standing there with the letter in one hand and the photo in the other. What did she say? He asked softly. I handed it to him. He read it quietly, then looked at me. You don't have to reply. I know, I whispered, but I might. He frowned, concerned. Why? Because everyone else will tell me I should. My aunt, my cousins, even her church friends. They'll all say the same thing. She's still your mother. And they did. Within days, my phone filled with messages. Penny, she's just reaching out. You should be the bigger person. Life's short. Forgive while you can. So one afternoon, against my better judgment, I did something small, something that felt safe. I sent her one picture. Just one. My daughter asleep in her crib, sunlight across her cheek. 10 seconds later, the reply came. She's beautiful. When can we visit? I didn't answer. But she didn't need my reply, because 2 days later, she showed up anyway. It was a quiet Tuesday. David was at work, the baby napping. I heard the knock and knew before I even looked. I opened the door an inch. There she was, neat hair, careful smile, like she was stopping by for coffee instead of crashing boundaries. I just wanted to see her, she said softly. Just a few minutes. Every part of me screamed no, but my mouth betrayed me. Okay, I whispered. I let her in. She looked around like she owned the air in my home, cooed at the crib, touched my daughter's blanket like she was blessing it. For a moment, I wanted to believe her, that this was love, not performance. But the illusion cracked fast. She started talking about how hard things had been, about bills, about how, if I hadn't cut them off, they'd still have insurance. Every word chipped away at the peace I'd built. When David came home an hour later and saw her there, his face fell. He didn't yell, he didn't accuse, he just said quietly, "You promised." I didn't defend myself, I couldn't. He picked up our daughter gently and left the room. That night, he packed a small bag and took the baby to his parents' house. He said he needed space, that he couldn't watch me reopen wounds we'd both fought to close. For a week, the house was silent. No baby cries, no laughter, just the echo of my own regret. I thought about calling him 100 times. Instead, I sat in the nursery, staring at the empty crib, hearing my mother's words again. You'll understand one day when your daughter grows up. But she was wrong. Because I did understand, not her, but myself. I finally understood why I kept letting her back in. It wasn't love, it was habit. A reflex built from years of craving her approval, mistaking survival for connection. When David came home at the end of that week, he didn't speak right away. He just held our daughter out to me and said softly, "If you let her in again, we'll lose everything we built." I nodded, tears streaming silently. "I know," I whispered. "I already almost did." He looked at me for a long moment, then kissed my forehead. Then we start over, but this time the door stays locked. That night, after he fell asleep, I went to the kitchen and found the letter still on the counter. I read it one last time, every line, every manipulation disguised as love, then fed it slowly into the fireplace. The paper curled, blackened, turned to ash. As the flame died, I whispered, "They didn't break me. I did, every time I let them back in." And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilt. I felt free.